Quickly before we start, do you have an audition coming up or you want to make sure that you are ready for it, but maybe you don't want to sort through a bunch of podcast episodes to find the ones about auditioning? Well, guess what? There is already an audition playlist just for you. These bite-sized episodes cover everything from preparing all the way to the secret to thriving in your audition. You don't want to miss it. And they are compact and ready to download for when you are on the go. So click the link in the show notes and get your audition playlist right in your inbox. Now back to the show. You are applying for a music program, whether it's a university degree program or maybe something similar or even a little different. You're going to have to find a new teacher. And maybe you have a list of teachers that you're interested in studying with, but let's be honest, how are you going to know which one would be the best for sure? Let's say it together. If you know what it is, let's say it together. 3, 2, 1, you do trial lessons. But you already knew that. That's why you clicked on this episode. The real question is, how are you going to prepare for those trial lessons so that they are the best that they can be? And that's what we're going to dive into today. Hello and welcome to the Confident Musicianing Podcast. I'm your host, Eleanor, and after countless practice sessions, a ton of broken reeds, and 7 different music school acceptances in 3 different countries, I have learned a thing or two about savoring your practicing, becoming your best practice companion, and actively working towards your musical goals. And I want to share this with you, because I want you to become your best musical self. Are you with me on this? Let's get started. Hey there, and welcome. I gotta be honest with you, trial lessons are so much fun. They really are. Not only is it an opportunity to see how well you work with someone, it's also a chance to get fresh eyes and ears, and therefore opinions and thoughts on the pieces that you're working on. Not to mention the networking possibilities that come with that too. I took trial lessons with over 12 different teachers based in 4 countries, and oh my gosh, it was a blast. I was able to see what kind of teachers I worked well with, and I also got new perspectives on my pieces. There were times when I was trying to work on a piece and I just kept trying and trying and trying, and it wasn't working and it wasn't, clicking. And then one teacher that I had a trial lesson with would say, think about it like this, and it would just click all of a sudden. Oh my gosh, those are the best moments. I also got amazing new contacts through the lessons, like more than once, more than twice, I'm pretty sure more than 3 times I would have a trial lesson and the teacher would say, oh, I know a student, or I have a student, or I have a former student who did this thing that you're trying to do as well, or had this problem that you're having. Let me get in touch with them. I can connect you guys. And through that, I now have amazing contacts of oboists throughout the world. It's amazing. So trial lessons are the best. Now, by the way, if you want to hear more about my trial lesson experience, including the lessons I learned and the experiences I had, that is all in episode 9, the ins and outs of my trial lesson experience. It was so much fun to make, and it's full of some good stuff, so go take a look. It is in the show notes. So, now that we've established that trial lessons are really cool, how do we prepare for them? Maybe we have some trial lessons already booked. We just don't know what to do between booking and actually doing the lesson. So how are we going to prepare? Let's dive right in. The first thing is researching the teacher. This might seem obvious, but if you don't do this and you don't know about the teacher, it can be quite create some embarrassing moments. So researching the teacher, where did they go to school, maybe what symphonies are they in, just making sure that you know everything about that. It's as simple as just reading a biography or a few paragraph biography on their website or maybe on the website of the symphony that they're in. whatever it is, just get like a basic understanding of them and who they are and kind of their credentials. Number 2, plan the lessons. Now with normal lessons, we don't really have to plan them because, they're weekly lessons and our teacher knows what we're working on. If we're doing etudes, then obviously the next week is the next etude. We don't really have to plan for that. But for trial lessons, the teacher might not have a plan. Most trial lessons, actually all the trial lessons I did, I went in and they were like, okay, what are we doing? So you have to have a plan. You need to prepare what you're going to work on. My kind of method is to have one solid piece and one piece that you're still working on. And you start with the solid piece. This solid piece is to show your ability, to make an impression. My solid piece when I was auditioning for university was the Saint-Saëns Oboe Sonata. If any of the teachers who I had trial lessons with are listening, first of all, hello. Secondly, you know that it was the Saint-Saëns Oboe Sonata. I played that for every trial lesson, and that was to show my ability, to make an impression. I knew that piece, I had that piece. It was solid, and that was my making an impression piece. Now, the second piece, for me, that was something that I was still working on, was the Mozart Oboe Concerto. That one it was one of my audition pieces. It was basically ready to go, but I did have a few iffy spots. And if we had time and the teacher was like, okay, do you have another piece? We would work on the Mozart. And that was the piece that I was still working on. Now, this is the opportunity to kind of see how the teacher might work with you on a piece that maybe is still in the works, because that's going to be most lessons. You're not going to show up to every lesson with a polished piece completely ready for auditions. So that's really, really helpful to see. If you want to really, really go ahead and be prepared, you can email the teacher what you are hoping to be working on. I didn't do that for most of my trial lessons. I think I maybe did that for 1 or 2. But it is a great way to not only be extra prepared, but also show the teacher that, hey, I've thought this through. I'm being prepared. So go for it. Number 3, we got plan questions. This is a huge one because this isn't really part of the normal lessons, like weekly lessons with your teacher, but it is a big part of trial lessons because in trial lessons, you're trying to get to know the teacher and the teacher is trying to get to know you. So they're going to ask you questions, but you also need to ask them questions as well. So here are some questions that I asked my teachers. First of all, I said, say we work together, what would be a few things that you would start me on? This really helped me get a better grasp of their teaching style and kind of their vision for us working together. If the teacher said, we would probably work on articulation, then that's something. If the teacher says, most of my students, we just start with etudes and we just go through these 3 pieces for the first year, that's also something. Depending on how you like to learn, those are really important things to know. Another thing is, and this is necessarily not really about the teacher themselves, but in the study program, what opportunities are there for blank? Are there for maybe first years, freshmen, orchestras, whatever it is? This helps you get a better grasp on the program as a whole, but also what the teacher has to say about it. And that can really help you kind of get to know the teacher a little better as well. Okay, the next thing is, if it's online, set up your space beforehand. Now, I did a bunch of online trial lessons because a lot of them were in different countries overseas, and this might seem like an obvious one, but let's be honest, impressions matter. So make sure everything is set up, the lighting is good, the sound is good, etc. Now, if there's a technical issue, don't stress. Don't stress. It's great to kind of show your professionalism when there is a technical issue. You can just, take a deep breath, be calm, and just be like, oh, there seems to be a technical issue. Let me sort it out. And just be really chill and professional and like, we got this. It's great. Now, the last one is not necessarily about preparing for the trial lesson, but this is about after the trial lesson. And this is a big one. Keep a notebook or write notes, whether it's in a notebook or on paper or whatever it is, just write notes for your trial lessons. Now, there are two things that are good to write down. The first thing is the remarks they had about the piece and your playing, because that's just great to remember. A few weeks ago, I wanted to remember a lesson that I had about a year ago. So I just looked at my notes and all of a sudden I remembered a bunch of stuff and it felt like I just finished the lesson. That can be amazing. It's also helpful when you're trying to decide which teacher you want to work with, because you can look back and be like, oh yeah, this teacher really focused on this aspect, whereas this teacher focused on this aspect. That's interesting, and it's really helpful. The next thing that's good to write down is your thoughts on them and the program. Now, this notebook is for you and you only, so just be honest. Be honest, because that's going to help you for when you have to pick a teacher. If you have a trial lesson with someone and then maybe you forget a few things that maybe didn't go well, or you forget a few things that did go well, then it will be harder to choose the right teacher for you. So just write down your thoughts about them, about their teaching style, about the program, and use it as a reference for when making decisions. Now, if you have trial lessons coming up, I wish you the best. Oh my gosh, they are so much fun. And I invite you to really enjoy them. Just enjoy them. It's an amazing opportunity to meet new people. All right, that's about it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, the stuff to do with this episode will be linked in the show notes, from the blog post that goes with this episode to the link about the audition playlist. Make sure to go check that out. To the link for episode 9, the ins and outs of my trial lesson experience. Make a habit of doing yourself a favor and looking at these show notes, because there's some good stuff in there. If you want to show your love and support for the Confident Musicianing podcast, make sure you give it a follow. And always, I wish you the best. Happy practicing, and yeah, I hope you have a great day. Bye!